I refused to fund my sister's lavish wedding after our parents said they couldn't afford it, which led to my entire family turning against me. Later, my sister appeared at my door, prompting a confrontation. I'm a 29-year-old mobile developer who earns significantly more than anyone else in my family. My mum is a retired piano teacher, and my dad operates a visual merchandiser store. My younger sister Mia, 26, and I haven't spoken in 2 years, largely due to her entitled and difficult demeanour, which has been evident since childhood and was never really addressed by our parents. 2 years ago, the rift between us deepened during a Christmas dinner I hosted in my new apartment. I had hoped to create a special celebration, but Mia criticised my home's size and style and boasted about her wealthy boyfriend's large estate. I couldn't stand it and ended up telling her that unlike her boyfriend, I was independently supporting myself, and she was welcome to leave if she wasn't satisfied. She and her boyfriend left in a huff, and we haven't been in contact since. Despite attempts from our parents to reconcile us, I've chosen to distance myself from her. Recently, I learned Mia was engaged to the same boyfriend from that Christmas dinner and was planning a costly wedding. Our parents, perhaps foolishly, committed to covering expensive venue and decor costs, wanting to compete with the groom's well-off parents. This was clearly a stretch for them financially. When they realised they couldn't afford the wedding expenses, they approached me for a loan. Remembering that they had refused to help with my college expenses, insisting I become self-sufficient once I turned 19, I declined to help. This has caused a rift with relatives who think I'm being petty, but I feel justified in my decision given the circumstances and the past precedent of financial independence they set for me. Now, I'm turning to others for perspective on whether my stance is reasonable or if I'm indeed being petty, as some family members suggest. The costs were sky high, and no amount of hard work seemed enough to cover them. I proposed taking out a student loan, but my parents starkly opposed the idea. They were even more appalled when I suggested borrowing money from relatives, deeming it beneath their principles. Despite heated arguments about this, they remained unmoved. In the end, my grandparents stepped in, helping me secure a loan so I could pursue my college education. During that period, I felt deeply frustrated with my parents, though I eventually forgave them. Yet, I haven't completely forgotten their staunch views against borrowing. My sister bypassed these financial dilemmas entirely by choosing not to attend college. She planned to inherit our father's business or marry, which she is now doing. Now, as my sister plans a lavish wedding, my parents seem to have conveniently set aside their principles about not borrowing money. When they approached me for financial help for her wedding, I couldn't help but remind them of their previous stance on loans. They were speechless, seemingly not expecting me to remember their words so vividly. Following our conversation, a wave of relatives contacted me, expressing that I had embarrassed my parents. According to them, my financial success had changed me, and I was now looking down on my parents. I found these accusations unfair. I had merely stood up against what I perceived as hypocrisy. Choosing to distance myself from both my parents and those relatives who failed to understand my perspective, I remained uninvolved in my sister's wedding preparations. Recently, my parents visited me again, distraught, saying that due to my actions, they had been uninvited from my sister's wedding. I was baffled, as I hadn't been in touch with her. They explained that when they revealed their inability to fully fund the wedding to her and her in-laws, complications arose. This unexpected turn of events has left me disconnected from my family, yet I remain firm in my belief that I haven't acted wrongly. She completely lost her composure around them and began pressuring them to find a way to come up with the money. At this point, if she had approached her in-laws for financial assistance, it would have made her family look terrible, and she was determined to avoid that. She had a point. If her parents weren't sure they could cover the full cost of what they had promised, they shouldn't have committed to it in the first place. Normally, she can be quite spoiled and feel entitled, but I don't believe she was wrong in what she expressed here. In my opinion, she and her fiancé should have handled the entire expense themselves, since his family is wealthy enough to afford it. However, If my parents have made a commitment, they should honour it. She was right that going to her in-laws would have made her family appear bad. Therefore, she had every right to become upset, and I supported her decision. I explained to my parents that I had nothing to do with their decision to commit to something they might not be able to fulfill. They brought this situation upon themselves, and there was no one else to blame except for them. At this stage, I believe that uninviting them from the wedding was a bit of an overreaction on my sister's part. But then again, what did they expect from Mia? She has always been like this, and they are responsible for dealing with her behaviour, not me. Despite my stance, my parents weren't ready to accept it. They kept insisting that if I had just helped them out by lending some money instead of holding on to old grudges, we wouldn't be in this difficult situation now. I felt it was very unfair of them to blame me, so I told them to leave. They did, but they continued to involve me, and now the entire family has turned against me, labelling me as selfish and heartless. Personally, I don't think I've done anything wrong, but I stand by my decision to not contribute to my sister's wedding because my parents can't afford it. Recently, I decided to cut off all contact with my entire family. It's unbelievable how both my dad's side and my mum's side of the family have united against me. The only exception is my grandparents. My mother's parents have passed away, but my father's parents still support me. They've been trying to keep the peace within the family, but even they are getting tired of all the drama. Everyone in the family has had disagreements in the past, but their animosity toward me has brought them together in a way I didn't expect. At least, I'm grateful that I was able to do something positive for the family, even though now I've blocked everyone else to avoid any more drama. Someone commented that the real reason everyone hates me so much and needs a reason to oppose me is probably because they're jealous. I think that's a fair point. I don't mean to brag, but I'm doing much better than most of my family members, and I don't think they can handle it. Growing up, I never really took anyone's advice. Most of them told me I should get a business degree and take over my dad's store because that's where the future was, instead of spending all my time on the computer. But guess what? That's exactly how I make my living now. I'm much more successful than most of my cousins, and not only are they jealous of me, but their parents also seem to resent me. It doesn't make sense to me because I believe families should celebrate each other's successes and share in the joy, but that has never been the case. It makes me really sad sometimes, but I can't change how some people are. I bet my parents are already enjoying the fact that everyone is against me right now, because according to them, I'm the one who got them uninvited from my sister's wedding. We haven't spoken since they last came by to accuse me of ruining their relationship with my sister, which I still don't understand. My grandparents have told me that they are not speaking to my parents either since they're on my side. This just shows how ungrateful my parents are because my grandparents have helped them out so many times in the past. Yet, they don't seem to remember any of that. It actually makes me somewhat happy that I didn't help them out when they came to me for support. In the end, I feel that maintaining peace and doing what's best for myself is more important than holding on to a toxic family dynamic. It's a difficult decision, but I believe it's the right one for my well-being and future. Yesterday was quite an eventful day for me. I was swamped with work and didn't have a chance to share what happened here, but something unexpected occurred after I got home. Mia, someone I hadn't spoken to in 2 years, decided to visit me. This was surprising because our relationship hasn't been the best, and we hadn't been in touch for a long time. When Mia arrived about an hour after I got home from work, I was initially taken aback. Given our strained relationship, I assumed she might want to discuss her wedding plans with me. Since our parents weren't invited to her wedding, I thought she might need financial help. However, Mia didn't start the conversation that way. Instead, she came bearing an apology for her past actions. Mia explained that she was starting a new chapter in her life. She was getting married. Before inviting anyone else, she wanted to extend a formal invitation to me to make up for how she had behaved in the past. She admitted that she had been difficult and regretted her behaviour. Mia also mentioned that our parents never addressed her behaviour, so she grew up believing she was acting normally and appropriately. Now, as she had matured, she realised she had been a terrible person and wanted to mend her relationships with everyone she had wronged, starting with me. Listening to her, I felt a mix of emotions. On one hand, I was glad she had come to apologise and take responsibility for her actions. On the other hand, I was cautious, knowing that there might be more to her visit. After she finished her heartfelt speech, I told her that I appreciated her apology and was happy she had recognised her mistakes. However, I sensed that she wasn't done yet and patiently awaited what she had to say next. As expected, Mia began to delve deeper into the situation. She mentioned that she knew our parents had been harsh on me as well. She had heard from other relatives that they thought I was selfish, heartless, and petty because I refused to help pay for her wedding. Mia tried to defend me by saying I was right to stand my ground since our parents had never supported me after I turned 18. She emphasised that our parents had promised to help her with wedding expenses, but had since withdrawn their support. Mia felt embarrassed to tell her fiancé that her parents would no longer cover any costs, leaving her in a difficult financial spot. At this point, Mia made her real request. She asked if I could lend her the money she needed for the wedding, assuring me that she would repay it by the end of the year. She even offered to sign a contract to make the agreement official, showing how serious she was about returning the money. Her willingness to put everything in writing made her request seem more genuine and trustworthy. Despite her promises and the official paperwork, I knew I needed time to think it over. Even though she had apologised, our relationship was still strained, and I wasn't sure if I was ready to trust her again. I hoped she would understand my hesitation, but Mia didn't take it well. She became upset, accusing me of being unreasonable and saying that she wasn't asking for a lot. In the end, I decided not to make a hasty decision. While I appreciated her apology and recognised her efforts to make amends, I needed to consider the history between us and whether helping her financially was the right choice. Our relationship had been rocky for years, and this request brought back many old feelings and unresolved issues. Reflecting on the day, I realised that sometimes people need to confront their past actions and seek forgiveness to move forward. Mia's visit was a significant step for her, showing that she was willing to change and rebuild relationships. Whether I decide to help her or not, her willingness to apologise and reach out was an important moment for both of us. As I continue to process what happened, I'm hopeful that this encounter could lead to a better understanding between us. Rebuilding trust won't happen overnight, but Mia's gesture was a start. Time will tell how our relationship evolves from here, but for now, I'm grateful that she took the initiative to apologise and seek reconciliation. For the last 2 years, my sister Mia and I had no relationship at all. We didn't talk, didn't see each other, and our bond as siblings was completely broken. So, when she decided to visit me out of the blue, it felt both surprising and suspicious. I couldn't shake the feeling that she wasn't really there to reconnect, but had another reason. Maybe to ask for money. Deep down, I doubted that her apology was genuine. When Mia arrived at my house, I could tell something was off. Instead of starting with an apology, she acted just like our parents, selfish and only thinking about herself. Frustrated by her behaviour, I couldn't hold back any longer. I told her that she was just like our parents, always looking out for herself. Predictably, she got angry and started yelling at me. But I wasn't going to put up with that kind of behaviour anymore. Unlike our parents, who always seemed to expect things from us, I decided to stand my ground. I firmly told her to leave my house, making it clear that I wouldn't tolerate her actions. At first, Mia refused to go, insisting that she wasn't done talking. In a moment of irritation, I grabbed her arm and forced her out of my home. She kept threatening to call the police, saying that I had attacked her, but I didn't care. Eventually she left, and though I was really angry for a while, looking back now it feels almost funny, and I've moved past it. A couple of weeks went by after that intense encounter. I assumed that because of our fight, any invitation Mia might have extended to me was off the table. But today, something surprising happened. I received an invitation to her wedding. This unexpected gesture left me confused and unsure about what to think. Was she serious about rebuilding our relationship, or was there another hidden motive? Feeling uneasy, I decided to reach out to her to get some clarity. At first, she didn't respond to my messages, which made me wonder if the invitation was even real. After a few hours, she finally called me back. Her tone was short and not very friendly, but I thanked her for the invitation anyway. Wanting to understand her true intentions, I asked her what was really going on. Mia explained that her apology during her visit was sincere. She was genuinely trying to become a better person. She also mentioned that she had managed to arrange all the money she needed for the wedding by herself, so she didn't need anyone's financial help anymore. She wanted me to know that her apology wasn't just a way to get on my good side, because I was financially well off. Mia assured me that she truly meant every word she had said that day. Mia went on to share that our parents had played a big role in her self-awareness. Their constant criticism made her realise that she had been acting like a brat in the past. Determined not to become like them, she had worked hard to change her behaviour and improve herself. This personal growth motivated her to invite me to her wedding as a way to mend our broken relationship. Curious about what was happening in our family, I asked Mia if she was planning to invite our parents to her wedding as well. She clarified that, contrary to what our parents were telling others, she had never officially uninvited them. Instead, she had been so frustrated with them that things became very tense. From the beginning, she'd warned our parents that her wedding plans were grand and beyond what they could afford. However, our parents remained confident that they could support her, which turned out to be unrealistic. Mia explained that telling her future in-laws the truth about our parents' inability to contribute would have been embarrassing. Our parents not only failed to keep their promises, but also tried to compete with her in-laws, adding more stress to the situation. This tension led to arguments, and eventually, our parents decided to uninvite themselves from her wedding. She hadn't directly told them to leave. Instead, they came to that conclusion on their own after her outbursts. What bothered me the most was that our parents chose to talk to everyone else about their issues, instead of addressing them with us directly. This made them look hypocritical, claiming that their children were terrible without even trying to fix things within the family. Their actions made it hard for us to consider reconciling, because they always found ways to blame us, portraying themselves as victims in every situation. Despite all the chaos, I was glad to hear that Mia hadn't been ostracized by the rest of the family the way I had been. She was still thinking about whether to invite our parents to her wedding, because they seemed firmly on their side. While her parents were nasty towards me, most of them were still trying to explain themselves to her, showing a different side compared to how they treated me. Mia's decision to change and extend an olive branch by inviting me to her wedding was a big step. It showed that she wanted to fix our relationship and move past the years of not talking. Hearing her side of the story made me realise that maybe there was a chance for us to reconcile, even though our history was filled with misunderstandings and hurt feelings. Thinking about everything that happened, I understand that family relationships can be very complicated. Mia's efforts to apologise and invite me to her wedding show that she's trying to break free from the negative patterns our parents set. Even though the past 4 years have been tough, her actions give hope that we can heal and rebuild our bond. As I think about her invitation, I'm reminded that forgiveness and understanding are crucial for moving forward. It won't be easy to overcome years of tension and pain, but Mia's genuine attempts to make amends suggest that change is possible. Whether I decide to attend her wedding or not, this experience has taught me the importance of communication and being willing to give family another chance. In the end, Mia's visit and her wedding invitation have opened the door to potentially restoring our relationship. It's a long journey ahead, but taking the first step towards reconciliation is a positive move for both of us. Time will tell how things unfold, but for now, I am cautiously optimistic about the possibility of mending our broken sibling bond. I think my parents might be acting this way because they're too proud to apologise, yet not too proud to rely on their children in the future. Since my grandparents have stopped supporting them, they probably feel the need to keep Mia on their side. This might explain why they're treating her differently. That's just my guess, though. I'm not entirely sure what's really going on. It's sad to see how they're treating Mia now, especially compared to how they treated me. But at least she's starting to see the reality of the situation. If she's genuinely trying to become a better person, I'm willing to give her a chance. After we talked on the phone, she apologised for her outburst the other day and said she'd be really glad if I could attend her wedding. She mentioned that having at least one family member there would mean a lot to her. I haven't decided yet whether I'll go, but I'm giving myself a couple of days to think it over before I let her know. Rebuilding a relationship after 3 years isn't easy, but I don't want to be someone who holds on to grudges forever. Living like that would only make me miserable. I discussed this with my grandparents, and they told me that if I decide to attend the wedding, they'll come too. Initially, they weren't sure if they wanted to go, but given the current circumstances, they might reconsider. Mia seems to be rethinking her relationships with the rest of the family and might not even invite our parents. Yesterday, I went to Mia's wedding, or more accurately, I walked her down the aisle. Our parents, unfortunately, didn't apologise or reach out to her before the wedding, so they weren't invited. She was really upset about it in the days leading up to the ceremony. She called me and asked if I'd be willing to walk her down the aisle, because she needed someone there for emotional support. I agreed right away. No matter what happened in the past, no one deserves to be treated like this by their own parents over a petty disagreement. I always knew it would be easier for our parents to cut me off emotionally, since Mia was always the favoured child. But seeing them refuse to fix their relationship with the one child who mattered most to them was a new low. Part of the reason Mia acted poorly in the past was because our parents never corrected her behaviour. As parents, it was their responsibility to guide her, but they chose to let her do whatever she wanted, which turned her into a spoiled brat. I'm not saying it's entirely their fault, but they could have done something to prevent it. When Mia asked me to walk her down the aisle, she seemed genuinely grateful. Even the few family members she invited declined to attend the wedding. It seems they all want to side with our parents and be part of the drama. I managed to convince our grandparents to come, though. Before the ceremony, Mia apologised to all of us. Her fiancé also apologised to me for how he treated me years ago. She told me she had explained the whole situation with our parents to her fiancé, and he assured her not to worry about the expenses. He would handle everything. That's how they managed. She almost broke down before the ceremony because our parents weren't there, but her fiancé are grandparents, and I encouraged her not to let them ruin her special day. I won't say that everything is perfect now, but we're going to work on rebuilding our relationship. I'm willing to believe that she's changed, and when I saw her yesterday, I felt she was sincere about wanting a fresh start. Some people might not agree with my decision, but I believe I'm doing the right thing.